I'm Valerie, and I thought I knew what heartbreak felt like, until the night my world cracked open under a string of golden lights by a misty lake. At 41, I've spent years trapped in a marriage that's more silence than love, a hollow shell of what it once was, with Nicholas by my side but never truly there. Each day, I've drowned in routine, aching for something to wake me from this numbness. But when a stranger's touch sparked a fire I thought had long died, I felt alive again, until I saw the look in my husband's eyes, a storm of unspoken pain. Now, I'm standing on the edge of everything I've ever known, and what he said next left me frozen, desperate to know if I've lost him forever. Picture this: a single, flickering street lamp casting a pale glow over a cracked sidewalk at 3 a.m., and I'm standing there, staring at the empty road as if it holds the answers I've been chasing for years. My name's Valerie, and at 41, I've started to wonder if life is just a series of quiet disappointments stitched together with habit. I'm not saying I've given up, not yet, but there's a heaviness in my chest that wasn't there a decade ago. I'm married to Nicholas, have been for 15 years, and if you saw us on the street, you'd probably think we've got it all figured out. Nice house, steady jobs, no drama. But peel back the curtain, and you'd see two people who've mastered the art of coexisting without truly connecting. Every morning, I wake up to the sound of nothing. No whispered good mornings, no lingering touches, just the creak of the mattress as Nicholas rolls out of bed before the sun even thinks about rising. I'm a mid-level marketing manager, always buried under deadlines and client demands, while he's an accountant, crunching numbers until his eyes glaze over. We're both so drained by the end of the day that exhaustion has become the unspoken third wheel in our marriage. When he gets home, there's a curt, "Hey," tossed my way, and I echo it back like it's a script we've rehearsed 1,000 times. Dinner is eaten in near silence, the clink of forks against plates louder than any conversation. And at night, we lie under the same blanket, inches apart, but it might as well be an ocean. There's no warmth, no stolen glances, no moments where our hands brush and remind us why we're still here. We've stopped reaching for each other in every way that matters, and I can't even pinpoint when it happened. Was it 5 years ago? 10? All I know is that we cling to the word couple like it's a lifeline, a justification for not walking away, even though the fire between us burned out long before I noticed the ashes. I've tried to fill the void with work, with routines, with anything that keeps my mind from wandering to the what-ifs. But there are nights when I lie awake, wondering if this is all there is. I don't have answers, but I've got questions. Too many of them. And soon, I'll cross paths with someone named Leo, though I don't know it yet. For now, he's just a name on the horizon, a shadow I can't see but will come to feel in ways I can't predict. Next week, I've got a seminar to attend for work. It's a 7-day slog at a lakeside hotel a few hours out of town, the kind of place that feels like it's been forgotten by time. The brochures call it serene, but to me, it looks more like a painting left out in the rain, faded, sagging, a little forlorn. As I pull into the gravel parking lot of the Lakeside Haven Hotel, the tires crunching under the weight of my old sedan, I can't help but feel like I've stepped into a memory that isn't mine. The building looms ahead, a modest 2-story structure that's seen better days, its weathered gray clapboard siding peeling at the edges like old skin. I step out, the crisp air biting at my cheeks, and take it all in. The wooden porch sags slightly underfoot as I drag my suitcase toward the entrance, the floorboards creaking with every step like they're whispering secrets of decades past. Inside, the lobby greets me with faded floral wallpaper, the kind my grandmother might have picked out in the 70s. Curling at the seams. A musty scent lingers, mingling with the faint aroma of pine from outside. But it's the large windows that catch my eye, floor-to-ceiling panes framing a misty lake, its surface still as glass, surrounded by towering pine trees that seem to guard it like silent sentinels. It's beautiful in a melancholic way, like a postcard from a time long gone. Nicholas came along for the trip, though I'm not sure why. Maybe he thought a change of scenery might do us good, or maybe he just didn't want to be alone at home. Either way, he's here, trailing behind me with his own bag, his face as unreadable as ever. We check in, get our keys, and head to our room, a small space with a lumpy mattress and a view of the lake that almost makes up for the outdated decor. The first couple of days pass in a blur of routine. I'm in the seminar most of the time, holed up in a cramped conference room with about 20 other participants, all of us corporate drones in varying shades of gray suits and forced smiles. The room smells like stale coffee and printer paper, the kind of scent that clings to your clothes long after you've left. We sit through workshops on team building and productivity, scribbling notes while a facilitator drones on about synergy. I nod along, but my mind wanders to the lake outside, to the way the mist curls over the water like a lover's breath. Nicholas, meanwhile, keeps to himself. When I'm in sessions, he's either holed up in our room with a book or wandering along the lake's edge, his hands shoved deep in his pockets, staring at nothing in particular. Our conversations are as thin as the hotel's watery oatmeal at breakfast. "Cold today, isn't it?" He'll mutter over a plate of rubbery eggs, and I'll nod, replying with something equally meaningless like, "Yeah, looks like rain." It's all surface, no depth, like skimming stones across that lake without ever seeing what lies beneath. I don't know if I'm disappointed or just numb to it by now, but there's something else stirring in me. A restlessness I can't name, a quiet ache for something more, something to break the monotony that's been suffocating me. That restlessness only grows as the days at Lakeside Haven Hotel drag on, until one evening everything shifts in a way I never saw coming. It's the fourth night of the seminar, and I find myself on the hotel's terrace after a long day of workshops. The air is cool, carrying the sharp, earthy scent of pine from the surrounding woods. It brushes against my skin, raising goosebumps under my thin sweater as I lean against the weathered wooden railing. Overhead, string lights are draped lazily across the space, their soft golden glow casting a warm haze over everything. The faint clink of wine glasses punctuates the quiet, mingling with the distant rhythmic lapping of the lake against the shore. It's peaceful, almost too perfect, like the calm before a storm I can't yet see. I'm not alone out here. Nicholas sits to my left, his chair angled slightly away from me, his fingers wrapped tightly around a glass of red wine he's barely touched. His jaw is set, his eyes fixed on some invisible point across the lake, and I can feel the weight of his silence like a stone in my chest. Then there's Leo, one of the seminar participants I've gotten to know over the past few days. He's across from me, sprawled casually in his chair, a half-empty glass dangling from his hand as he talks. His voice is warm, animated, pulling me in with every word. He's been telling stories all evening, wild tales of his travels, hilarious mishaps from his job as a freelance consultant, each one more engaging than the last. I can't help but laugh, really laugh, in a way I haven't in what feels like forever. It's like a forgotten part of me is waking up, stretching toward the light of his attention. I steal a glance at Nicholas, hoping to see even a flicker of something, annoyance, amusement, anything. But his face remains a mask. His knuckles are white around the stem of his glass, though, and I sense the tension radiating off him. It's unsettling, but there's a part of me, a reckless part, that thrills at the contrast between his cold distance and Leo's effortless charm. I should feel guilty for enjoying this, for letting myself lean into the moment, but I don't. Not yet. Then it happens. Leo, mid-laugh at one of his own punchlines, reaches over and rests his hand on my shoulder. It's a casual gesture, almost thoughtless, but the warmth of his touch seeps through the fabric of my sweater, igniting something in me I can't name. My breath catches, just for a second, and I feel Nicholas go rigid beside me, his stillness more deafening than any words could be. I turn my head slightly, expecting to meet his gaze, to see anger or hurt or something in his eyes. But he's still staring out at the lake, unblinking, as if he's carved from stone. The air between us thickens, heavy with unspoken things, and I'm caught in the middle, torn between the guilt that's starting to creep in and the electric rush of Leo's nearness. Leo must sense the shift, because he pulls back slightly, his hand slipping away, but his eyes find mine with a knowing glint. He leans in just a bit, his voice dropping to a softer, almost playful tone. "Can I show you something?" he asks, and there's a suggestion there, a subtle undercurrent that makes my pulse quicken. I know I should say no, should stay right where I am, but my heart is pounding, and before I can overthink it, I nod. Just once, barely perceptible, but it's enough. I stand, my legs feeling unsteady beneath me, and I can't help but glance back at Nicholas as I step away from the table. He doesn't move, doesn't speak, just watches us go with that same unreadable expression. His silence cuts deeper than any accusation could, and yet, I keep walking, following Leo off the terrace and into the hotel. My mind is a storm of conflicting thoughts, but my feet don't hesitate as I step back into the dimly lit hallway of the Lakeside Haven Hotel. The weight of what just transpired with Leo clings to me like a second skin. My breath is still uneven, my mind a tangled mess of emotions I can't begin to unravel. The air in the corridor feels stale, heavy with the scent of old carpet and dust, and above me, a single fluorescent light flickers erratically, casting jittery shadows on the peeling wallpaper. There's a faint hum from the hotel's ancient heating system, a low drone that seems to vibrate through the walls, mirroring the tremor in my chest. I'm barely a few steps in when I see him, Nicholas, standing at the far end of the hallway, half hidden in the dimness. His hands are shoved deep into the pockets of his worn jacket, his posture rigid, and his face is pale, almost ghostly under the stuttering light, unreadable as ever. My heart slams against my ribs, a wild, frantic rhythm as I meet his gaze. I brace myself for the storm I'm sure is coming, anger, hurt, accusations I know I deserve. But when he speaks, his voice is low, steady, almost eerily calm. I saw everything. It was beautiful, but I can't stay. His words hit me like a punch, stealing the air from my lungs. Beautiful? What does he mean by that? I stand there, frozen, replaying the sentence in my mind, trying to dissect it, to find some hidden meaning. Was it sarcasm, resignation, or something else entirely, something I can't grasp? My mouth opens to respond, to explain, to apologize, anything to bridge the chasm between us, but my throat tightens, a vice of guilt and shame clamping down hard. No words come. I'm left mute, trembling in the flickering light as Nicholas turns away. He doesn't look back, not once, as he walks down the hall toward our shared room, his footsteps slow and deliberate, echoing in the silence until they fade. I don't follow him right away. I can't. My legs feel like they're made of lead, and I just stand there, staring at the empty space where he stood, the hum of the heating system the only sound in my ears. My mind is a whirlwind, spinning with images of the terrace, of Leo's touch, of the way I let myself fall into a moment I knew I shouldn't have. And now this. Nicholas's cryptic words, his retreat. What did I expect? A fight? A plea? Something other than this hollow, quiet withdrawal? Eventually, I force myself to move, dragging my feet down the hallway, each step heavier than the last. When I finally reach our room, hours later, the door creaks as I push it open. The room is dark, save for a sliver of moonlight slipping through the curtains, illuminating the lumpy bed. Nicholas is there, lying on his side, facing the wall, his breathing slow and even, though I know he's not asleep. The silence between us is thicker than ever, a suffocating blanket I can't shake off. I slip under the covers on my side, careful not to disturb the space between us, and lie there, staring at the ceiling. My mind won't stop replaying the night. Every glance, every touch, every word. Guilt gnaws at me, sharp and relentless. But there's something else too, something I'm almost afraid to name. A strange sense of liberation, as if I've stepped out of a cage I didn't even know I was in. It terrifies me as much as it thrills me. Sleep doesn't come easy, and when I wake the next morning, the room feels colder, emptier somehow. I roll over, expecting to see Nicholas still turned away, but instead, I find him standing by the small table near the window, his suitcase open in front of him. He's packing, his movements precise and methodical, folding each shirt with a care that feels almost ritualistic. He doesn't look at me, not even a glance, as he tucks away his belongings, the soft rustle of fabric the only sound breaking the stillness. I sit up. The morning after Nicholas started packing, the air in our room at the Lakeside Haven Hotel felt like it had turned to ice. I watched him for a moment, his back to me, his hands moving with that same mechanical precision as he folded the last of his things. Then, without a word, he zipped up his suitcase, slung it over his shoulder, and walked out. The door clicked shut behind him, a sound so final it echoed in my chest like a drumbeat. I sat there on the edge of the bed, the sheets still tangled from a night of restless tossing, and felt the weight of his absence settle over me like a heavy fog. He was gone, truly gone, and I was left with nothing but the hollow ache of everything I'd done. The final days at the hotel dragged on, each one slower and heavier than the last. I went through the motions of the seminar, sitting in that stuffy conference room with its stale coffee smell, pretending to listen while my mind replayed every moment that had led to this. But it was the meals that cut the deepest. I'd sit alone at a small table in the dining hall, pushing watery oatmeal or overcooked eggs around my plate, my eyes drawn to the empty chair across from me where Nicholas used to sit. That chair, with its chipped wood and faded cushion, became a silent accusation, a reminder of the space he'd left behind. I could feel the curious glances from the other participants, their whispers barely hidden behind polite smiles. They must have noticed his sudden departure, must have pieced together that something had gone wrong. Leo was among them, his presence like a shadow at the edge of my vision. Once during breakfast, he approached my table, his steps hesitant, a question in his eyes. I shook my head before he could even speak, a small, sharp gesture that stopped him in his tracks. He nodded, understanding, and backed off, leaving me to my solitude. I didn't want his words, his explanations, or whatever comfort he might have thought to offer. Not now, not after everything. The loneliness of those days gnawed at me, but it was a moment by the lake that finally broke something open inside. Late one afternoon, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in shades of bruised purple and gold, I found myself wandering down to the water's edge. The cold wind whipped across the lake, biting at my skin through my thin jacket, stinging my cheeks with its sharpness. I stood there, my boots sinking slightly into the damp earth, and stared out at the still glassy surface. The pine trees loomed around me, their branches whispering in the breeze, and for the first time since Nicholas left, I let myself feel it all. The tears came slow at first, hot and heavy, then faster, spilling down my face as I wrapped my arms around myself, trying to hold together the pieces that felt like they were shattering. I cried for him, for us, for the years we'd spent building a life that had somehow turned to dust without me even noticing. I cried for the betrayal, for the way I'd let myself fall into a moment of weakness with Leo, a moment that had felt like waking up but had cost me so much. Standing there, with the wind howling and the lake stretching out endlessly before me, I forced myself to face the truth I'd been hiding from for years. My marriage to Nicholas hadn't been alive for a long time. We'd been two strangers sharing a space, using routine as a shield to avoid the gaping disconnect between us. We'd stopped talking, stopped touching, stopped seeing each other in any way that mattered. And what I'd done with Leo, those stolen moments of heat and longing, a desperate grasp at feeling something again. It wasn't just a betrayal of Nicholas. It was a betrayal of the life we'd built, hollow as it had become. But here's the raw, jagged edge of it. I don't regret the act itself. I can't. Because in that fleeting rush, I felt alive for the first time in years. It woke me up from the numbness I'd been drowning in, made me see how far I'd drifted from who I used to be. What I do regret, what tears at me as I pull into the driveway of our suburban home. The familiar sight of the neatly trimmed lawn and the white picket fence feels like a memory from someone else's life. The tires crunch softly on the gravel, and I sit there for a moment, hands still gripping the steering wheel, staring at the house that's held so many years of my quiet existence. It's late afternoon, the sun dipping low, casting long shadows across the yard. I step out of the car, the weight of the past week pressing down on me like a physical thing, and drag my suitcase up the walkway. The front door creaks as I push it open, that same old sound I've heard 1,000 times. But today it feels sharper, like a reminder of everything that's changed. Inside, the air is still, heavy with silence. My eyes catch on Nicholas's coat, still hanging by the door on its usual hook, the dark fabric untouched, as if he might walk in any moment. But I know he won't. Not now. Maybe not ever. I move through the house, my footsteps echoing on the hardwood floor, each room feeling emptier than the last. The living room, with its worn couch and the coffee table still cluttered with his accounting books, looks frozen in time. I half expect to hear his voice, that curt, "Hey," he'd toss my way, but there's nothing. Just the hum of the refrigerator from the kitchen, a sound so mundane it almost hurts. I make my way there, my heart thudding dully in my chest, and that's when I see it, a note on the counter, right in the middle, as if placed with deliberate care. It's in Nicholas's neat handwriting, the kind of precision that always defined him. I pick it up, my fingers trembling just a little, and read the words, "I need time, don't look for me yet." That's all it says. No anger, no explanation, just a quiet request that feels like a door closing. I sink into a chair at the kitchen table, the note still in my hand, and stare at the empty space across from me where he used to sit during our silent dinners. There's a strange mix of relief and loss swirling inside me, like two currents pulling in opposite directions. Relief, because maybe this needed to happen, this breaking apart of something that was already fractured beyond repair. Loss, because even in the numbness of our marriage, there was a comfort in the familiar, in knowing he was there, even if we weren't truly together. I sit there for what feels like hours, the light fading outside, the shadows growing longer across the kitchen floor. My mind keeps circling back to the lake, to the terrace, to the moment everything shifted. I think about how we'd built a life on autopilot, avoiding the cracks until they became canyons. And now, with this note in my hand, I can't help but wonder if this is the end of us, or if it's just the end of pretending. Maybe our marriage needed to shatter to show me what was hiding underneath all the routine and silence. Maybe I needed to see the raw, messy truth of myself, even if it hurts to look at it. Eventually, I reach for my phone, my fingers hesitating over the screen before I dial a number I know by heart. It's Marissa, my closest friend, the one person I've always been able to confide in, even when the words are hard to say. The line rings, and when she picks up, her voice is warm, familiar, a lifeline in the quiet of this empty house. I don't hold back. I tell her everything, about the seminar, about the terrace under those string lights, about the way I let myself get pulled into a moment of longing with Leo, a moment that was all heat and whispered possibilities, a dance of nearness that spoke louder than words. I tell her about Nicholas seeing it all, about his cryptic words in the hallway, about him walking out without looking back. My voice cracks as I admit how I've been living half asleep for years, how I betrayed not just him, but the promises we made, even if those promises had long since hollowed out. There's a long silence on the other end of the line, and then Marissa speaks, offering comfort and understanding. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.